And what made you write a book about Phuket's history? How you came up with that idea? Also ich frage gerade, I have to do this anyway, it's underlining translation.
No, I've got a master's degree in history. I love history. So wherever I go in the world, and I've traveled in I think more than 185 countries. I've been in most places. And look at the books over here. I always like to study the history of where I am so that, one, I'm just curious and I understand it better. And I realized there was really no history written in Phuket. And I'm going, this can't be so I was researching another book and I started looking more and more at history of Phuket.
There was nothing really about
There's nothing really written about it. This is the only one, really. I mean, there is actually when you really look, but not that much. It's either written from Singapore by the British from Singapore or Penang, writing about Malaya, writing about Siam, or it's from Bangkok, writing about Siam, where it's an outlying island, right? So there's no one writing about Phuket in this area because, this was the southern Siam, but it was northern Malaya. I mean, where was the border? The border was not clear for many years. So nobody really covered this area, and that's why I was fascinated, mainly about Phuket, how much history happened here and how little people know. So in every other country, in Germany, in Scotland, in America, if there's any history in a town, they make a big tourism thing from it, right? Here they've got more history than, I wouldn't say America, but they got, I'd say 3,000-4,000 years of history.
Probably do have more.
I mean, the Greeks were probably here, the Romans were probably here. The Arabs have been here, the Indians ran this island for nearly 1,000 years. The Portuguese came here, the French ran the island, the British
the Portuguese have quite a big influence on the island. There's a lot of the buildings look like Portuguese style. Really.
Well, they say that, but that's not so, because they, what happened was, it's Chinese, they call it Sino-Portuguese, but that's just the same, because it started in Malacca, where the Portuguese were. But really what happened is, it's Sino-Hampshire. It's like British, because the Chinese, when Stanford Raffles set up Singapore, the Chinese came and he said, right, you have 5-meter shop fronts, you have to make a certain style, you have to have a covered bit for people walking by, and we're going to tax you on the width of your shop front. So if you want to have a big shop front, you're going to pay more tax. So that's why all their shop houses were long and thin, right?
Yes,
they save tax. Yeah, they save tax.
I was wondering why they are so long.
No, it's because they save tax.
Because of the tax.
So they did this in Singapore, and when the British set up Penang, they did the same. So when the Chinese came here, they all came up from Penang, and they built Phuket town. There was nothing in Phuket before. It was all in Thailand, which is Thai stuff, or Indian and Iranian and all that.
And the Muslims, they came after the Chinese or before?
No, the Muslims came here. The first Muslim coins were found in 680 in Malaysia, dated to 690. But they didn't really come, Islam didn't really reach here until about 1400. That was before the Chinese, before the Thais too. So the Thais only get here around, the first Thais came about 1420.
Okay, since when they have people then living on the island? Do you know that? I mean,
yeah, no, it used to be, it was black people here before, right? They're Negritos, but they've been cleared off. And then came the Malays, right? But before that, there was also the Mon people who were almost like Thai.
Mon,
the Mons.
Burma, no? Mon?
No, the Mons, like what happened is China grew. So there were some kingdoms north in Asia. There was the Thai kingdom called Nam. There was a Mon kingdom called Diwa. They were very educated people with great walled cities around the area of Phnom Penh south, right? And in Burma, now the British drew some lines through, but that whole area. So they were the first to get religion from the east. So they were the ones who started Buddhism here. So they were Buddhist people, but as they came further south, they didn't. Well, you look out the window, it's thick jungle, right? You can't travel over land. You know when we're hashing, if you come off the trail, you can't move 10 meters. So they came on boats, and those are the boat people, or the Mokian, right? They lived on boats, and they went up the rivers, and then they settled by rivers. They lived fishing. So when the Malays, who were also boat travelers, when the Malays came and settled, they were more powerful. And then it was a Malay place, and the Malays called them Tanjung in Malay or like Tanjung is a peninsula. And in those days, Phuket was joined to the mainland, right? Even now at the bridge on a very low tide, someone wrote in 1872 you could still walk elephants across from here to the mainland. So there must have been an earthquake or a typhoon that put the water and made it an island, but it was a peninsula then, so they called it Ujang, or Tanjung is peninsula of Salang.
So it was connected to the mainland?
Yeah, it was part of the mainland. And Salang is what the Malays called the boat people, the Salang people. So Talang comes from Salang, Chalong comes from Salang, it's the same. So they called it Ujang Salang. That's why later the Europeans called it Jang Silong. It came from there. So then it was Malay all around here. And then the Thais, the Siamese kings pushed further south. But in Siam in those days, there was Malays, there was foreigners. Siam encompassed everybody. It was run mainly by Thais and Chinese. But Siam was multicultural. If you imagine like the Ottoman Empire, and then it became Turkey. And then the guy, at the time of the war, with Hitler started pushing nationalism, and the Thais took the side of the Axis powers. So they followed Turkey, Kamala Ataturk, and they got rid of all the outlying areas, Laos and Cambodia and Burma, and they gave away all the non-Thai bits. And they said, this is now Thailand, the land of the Thais. And they kept Phuket, that was one. But Phuket was mainly Malay. After the Second World War, it's become fully Thai. Before that, it was Chinese came in about 1870, then it became almost 90% Chinese. But still, in theory, the Thais controlled it, right? But actually the triads did, the Chinese triads.
Let's hope the Chinese don't come back and reclaim Phuket. Huh?
Well, they're already buying the hell out of it these last few weeks with COVID, all the cheap hotels the Chinese are buying.
So what kind of experiences you made in Phuket since you're here? One of the best experience and one of the worst experience?
Well, one of the best, of course, is having a nice family, right? And just the fun I've had here, you know. As a single guy, right, you look at that look in your eyes, right? Just the fact that you can surf, party, run the hash, drink all the time, do whatever you want. The free life here is probably the best experience. The nice weather, the easygoing style, the nice food. There's so many good things on this island.
Yeah, I think also it's one of the best places.
Yeah, it's one of the best places in the world. I left here after 7 years because we say in English, I don't know if you do in German. If you stay more than 7 years somewhere, you're stuck. I don't know if they say in German. We say.
Yeah, it's the same with the woman.
After 7 years, you're stuck. Yeah. So just before 7 years, I took off. I went around all the world, where there are, poor countries with beautiful women. Because I grew up in poor countries, that's what I'm used to. I've always been a bit of an outsider. So I tried all South America, Central America, all Vietnam, Pacific Islands, everywhere. And many countries are great. I love Panama, I love Dominican Republic, I love Tanzania, my country. But I found myself coming back here, because here you're in South America, you look over your shoulder, you leave your phone, someone nicks it. Here life's easy. Here nobody bothers you.
And as a man of history, if you look at what is happening right now on this planet with Corona, how would you combine those things? I mean, looking at history, the experience, what history teaches us also, because I believe we learn from history.
Well, I can say that Thailand has been amazing with their Corona fight, right? They closed down every little village or every small area, and then they said, okay, let's closed. If you do 2 weeks with no cases, you open. And the next one, open, as long as there was a case, and they eliminated it. And they closed the island, and we don't have it here. They really did a good job. I mean, look at the nonsense in America. And also in Germany. I mean, people, we can't. We wear masks here in 7-Eleven when we go out because the Thais also, it's polite, right? If you go in, you feel like an idiot not wearing a mask because, and I'm sure the Thais feel the same, but we do it for each other. But when we're out and about, nobody wears a mask. But if the shops make the effort of trying to protect you, you should protect them back. So I think they've done a great job on Corona. I think it will come and it will go. You know, like the Spanish flu, it took 2.5 years. The Spanish flu from 1918, it killed 20 million people. So it's going to screw things up for at least another year. But for me, it's not screwing up because I don't own a hotel, I don't own a business. I mean, unfortunately, you do. But so for me, I love it.
It's better
without tourists.
Yeah, sure. It's
not traffic jam. The beaches are empty. The prices are lower.